Hello and welcome to Talking Baseball with Leon Lee. Here we are again. It's May 27th, 2018, and we are in Sacramento, California. I'm here with my good friend Leon Lee. How are we doing today, Leon?
Doing great. Always good to be here with you, Steve.
Today, Leon, I wanted to talk about winning versus development in youth baseball, and I know that translates kind of up towards the professional ranks as well. But I need some help as a youth baseball coach. Over the years, I've had a lot of conversations with players and parents and other coaches, and some of them have even gotten a little argumentative about where the focus should be in terms of winning versus player development at various age groups as we coach baseball. And I always wanted to kind of focus on the process because I always thought winning was a byproduct of following the process. And it's not that I don't want to win. Of course, everybody wants to win. But I think there's a fine line between where you put your priorities with certain age groups as you progress, and also the importance of learning how to compete versus just focusing on the result of winning. And how can you help me with all of that?
Well, it's a big conversation, Steve. It's a conversation that's out there, I think, in all sports, especially in these days of youth travel ball. Because us at pro ball, we're getting kids now that are not developed because they're learning that winning is everything. We've heard from Vince Lombardi in the past and all the big sayings. Winning's not winning's not everything. It's the only thing. And you get some of these go fathers and parents that are coaching teams now, and they're trying to make these kids win before they even learn to develop. So I feel you there, and I think it's a great conversation that people should listen to. And some parents and coaches out there is that you have to, I think my feeling is you have to really focus on young kids and their development.
Mm-hmm. So you would put the development as a priority over winning?
A priority, complete priority, because there's a such thing as teaching a kid how to become a winning player. I among everybody, I love to win too. I'm like you. We all love to win. Once we get in the field of competition, we look at scoreboards.
Yeah.
We ask questions. Who's ahead? Who's winning? I mean, we want to see the score on our favor at the end of the game. But for me, as a professional, I find that I see the players that succeed at the highest level, which most young kids are trying to get to, is they move ahead because they understand how the game is played. Mm-hmm. So as youngsters, it shouldn't matter. Their rating in the community shouldn't be judged by the end score of the game. It's what they learn and how they played the game.
Right. Yeah, and it's disheartening to me that some of the kids, if they're not having fun, they're going to stop playing. And a quick story, I had one youngster about 12 years old, and he came to me during a summer program, and he was a very talented young man. He also played other sports, soccer and basketball, and played baseball. And I had him the season before as well. Well, this particular summer I'd asked him, "Oh, how was your Little League season?" And he said, "Oh, I didn't play." I said, "Oh, why didn't you play?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't having fun anymore." But yet he came out to my summer league and wanted to play with us there because he had fun.
Right.
And he was a very good baseball player. And to me, to hear that was so disheartening that there was a very young, talented kid, and he stopped playing the local Little League because he wasn't having fun.
Yes. I too knew a young person. He was 13 years old, and he just told me burnout. And if you look at the numbers are scary. Because right now, these days, young baseball players are quitting at record numbers after 12 years old. 70% of kids are quitting baseball after the age of 12 years old.
Wow.
That's scary. And another thing, because they're not having fun, they're burnt out, the travel ball, the expectations are too high, the coaches are hard. I mean, baseball's not a mandatory game. It's voluntary, and if you want to go out there on your own choice, at least you want to go out and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to learn how to compete, but also you still have to, at the end of the day, you have to go home felt like you had fun doing something.
Right.
And now, you see programs popping up. A good friend of mine, Nick Edmondson, has started a program for kids. And it shows they really don't need to play 5 games a week or 6 games a week or 5 games on a weekend. It's overkill. But developing their skills. Baseball is a skills game. Mm-hmm. So these parents are telling these kids, oh, you got to hit the ball to right field. Well, these coaches, but you haven't taught the kid how to hit the right field.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, and I think that's why it affects you so much, because you love the game.
Yeah.
I know you do. I can see it ever since we've known each other. You have a great passion for the game. And the people that have a passion for the game should be able to translate that to the kids that are on the field of competition. Learn how to play. And it's not an easy game to play. You can learn how to play the game. The results, as we said last week, we can't control results.
Right.
And I tell kids, you won because you played the game, not because the other team outscored you. That's just a lesson in life.
Yeah, you followed a process.
Yes.
You took steps, and the result was a win.
Exactly. The results were a win. That's
Yeah.
a result.
Yeah.
The content of the game is how much knowledge, how knowledgeable are you, or how instinctive are you, or how confident are you to step on that field and not be afraid to make a mistake
Yeah.
and not be afraid to miss it.
Right. Not be afraid to fail.
Exactly. And the more, it's just like we talked about on the last one, it's like the bigger hurry you're in the car, the more red lights you hit. Mm-hmm. The harder you try to get a hit, or the harder you want to succeed, or harder you want to impress your coach, the more mistakes you make.
Yeah. And we've also seen that I know you probably have too, the dugout full of youngsters crying after a game because they lost.
Exactly. That's sad.
That is sad.
And you should say, son, you played the game. The game was designed to be played. And I tell young kids all the time, Steve, if you had a baseball field with the grass and the dirt, people are not going to come out to the game and sit there and watch the grass and the dirt. The grass and the dirt's not doing anything.
No.
It's just a field.
Yep.
Okay, now if you took a bunch of people that were in street clothes out on the baseball field running around in circles and doing what they got to do, not really making any sense, there's not going to be any fans going to come pay money to come sit up there and watch them play either. Mm-hmm. But if you get the young kids and you put them in a baseball uniform, and get them out there in a structured situation where everybody understands their position and what the game is all about, and now the fan will come and pay money to come watch these kids play. I don't care if they're 7 years old or they're 37 years old, because now you're not out there playing the game. You become the game. You are the game. That's what people want to see.
Right.
So the coaches are getting in the way of things by trying to make these kids win a ball game rather than let the people enjoy watching the game. At the end of the game, you can look up and say, oh, wow, that team scored 4 and the other team scored 3. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the enjoyment of the game. We didn't know what that score was going to be before it started.
Right.
So I know your frustration, and I get frustrated because even in at the lower levels, coaches are being judged because or if you have a losing game, the coach feels like it's personal.
Right.
And it's not. It's not on him.
They're being judged by wins and losses.
Wins and losses. And to me, it's ludicrous.
I always thought my goal as a youth baseball coach was to ensure that the kid wanted to come back and play again next year.
That's right.
If he said, yes, I'm coming back to play next year, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish.
Exactly. And if I had a kid, sometimes he'd miss a ground ball, I'd say, hey, put a glove on that foot.
Yeah.
You're catching it with your leg, you may as well put a glove on it, right? And have fun. Have
fun.
The kid already knows he made a mistake. He let a ball. He wants to catch it.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any good for me to make the kid run laps or do push-ups because they missed a ground ball. I'm going to hit him another ground ball.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
To me, the worst thing possible, and it's one thing I'll stand up to, is I never, ever have a team or a player run for punishment.
Right.
I think it's the worst the worst example you could set. You missed the ball, go run the pole, run to the pole, run to the fence, hit the fence. Running should be, or conditioning should be, just something natural because it goes hand in hand with sports.
Right.
You have to be in good shape to play sports. So the running part, the work, I always say, my granddaughter told me this one, says, Papa, the game is baseball's, baseball's not fun, baseball's work. But the work is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
So the kids should really enjoy coming out, practicing and running the bases and learning, because every time they make a turn on the bag, they're learning something that you could put in the ball game. That's what the game consists of, is executing certain plays. And by working on it, should be a lot of fun working on it, not get punished because you missed the ball.
Yeah, it should be, yeah.
It should be.
I thought practice, as a kid, I almost enjoyed practice more than the games because practice meant I got more ground balls and I got more swings. In the games, sometimes you're hoping you might only get 2 or 3 balls hit to you.
That's
might
right.
only get 2 or 3 swings. But in practice, I got a lot more action, so I almost enjoyed practice more.
Well, when we were growing up, and you can relate to this, we played a lot of pickup baseball.
Yes.
Pickup baseball. Now, fast forward to pro ball. I can remember 1,000 incidences playing in those pickup games. Some days we play 2 or 3 games, and then if we had a Little League game or something, we'd play a pickup game and then go to a Little League game. Mm-hmm. And I can remember thousands of incidents and the fun and the people I was playing with, especially the neighborhood kids. A lot of them played pro ball. But for the life of me, I can't remember one score.
Right.
I don't even remember if we kept score. They might have been up there 94 to 92 or 81 to 81, 80, 70 or whatever. Because we were running, we were still in bases, we were sliding. I don't ever remember not knowing how to slide.
Right.
Because I couldn't really play unless I got dirty.
Right.
And we'd have 1 or 2 balls. We'd take baseball bats, and if they broke, we'd split them down the middle and make it a flat one and use that all day and then tape it up again and keep playing. But we were more content or intent on make sure we had balls and bats and players. We never cared about the score.
Right.
Of course, we kept it, but everybody was almost like, all right, we went up by 1. We're up by 2.
Right.
Or we're up by 3. Right. Oh, no, you didn't. You were out. Oh, okay. All right, there we go. We were umpiring ourselves. We were coaching ourselves. But at the same time, we go home dirty, sweaty, grass-driven clothes and grass-stained clothes. And for the life of me, I can't ever remember a score.
Yeah, I think that's why that good old movie, The Sandlot,
oh, yes,
kind of hit home with a certain generation.
Exactly.
And now just think of it, I don't remember any scores either.
No.
From all the street baseball we played and Sandlot ball.
Until a kid becomes a professional player, becomes a job.
Yeah, until you're getting paid for it.
Until you're getting paid for it. And a coach or a manager in college or high school, and they're getting paid too. I understand that.
Yeah.
Pro ball as a player, now it's a job.
Right.
You got to perform.
Right.
Where you learn, our pride as middle school or high school or little league coaches should be to prepare that child. If he happens to be the 1 out of every 500 that makes it to pro ball, at least when he leaves there, he understands how to play.
Yeah, or talk about how to compete.
How to compete.
You teach
exactly.
How to compete.
How to compete.
Yeah.
And that way he's not in culture shock. I remember first signing and going to Sarasota, Florida as a professional when I signed with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I got in the locker room, I saw a uniform with my name on it. And all of a sudden I go, oh my God, what did I just get into here? Mm-hmm. I stepped out on the ball field and realized I can play this. I learned because of all the pickup ball.
Yeah.
And I fear now a lot of kids are not getting that opportunity to get there because they're quitting before they get 12 years old.
Right.
They're quitting because it's not fun. And I don't blame them, to be honest.
It's not fun.
No.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to be a revolutionary or rebel against the system, but I think travel ball kind of encourages that a little bit because you get on the field, you're okay to run scores up to get better seedings, and beat kids' brains out and number, the rules are such a stickler. I got a lesson the first time I put a team in. I got treated like I was a little rookie kid because I had no idea what the rules were. Mm-hmm. And I go, well, I understand rules, but is this baseball or not?
Yeah.
You do all this to win a game?
And what are they really winning? Are they winning, a material object like a trophy or a T-shirt?
That's it.
I mean, the kids aren't getting paid, obviously.
No.
So what are they really
But
learning?
the coaches and sometimes the parents they have bragging rights because they played a tournament. They got a really nice. They went out and they call them mercenaries. Get some of the better ball players and go out there and win that tournament. It's good,
Do you think it's ego-driven?
I think it's more ego-driven, but it's not servicing the game.
Or servicing the kids.
The kids. And I think what's happening is kids are becoming more robotic. I hear kids say, yes, coach, yes, coach. And I even had a kid tell me, says, I would think for myself, but I get punished for it.
Right. So yeah, how would you deal with, like when my brother and I coached together, we had parents come up to us complaining that we weren't winning enough and wanting to make the lineups out for us, wanting to call pitches, wanting to really dictate what the kids were doing during the games. And instead of, letting the kids play, we were a little more loose. We wanted the kids to learn to make their own decisions, experience failure, experience how to overcome that failure. But yet we were having conversations with parents about the opposite. So how would you react to a parent who's coming up to you?
I tell a parent that, number one, if you're a good evaluator of talent, obviously, no matter what field you're in, there's some people that are just a little more talented in that area than other people are. In baseball, especially baseball, if you have better players, you're going to win more games. It's pretty simple to me.
Yeah.
That you can't have a kid who's smaller and not as strong and not as knowledgeable playing against a kid who's a little bigger and stronger and has been playing a lot to go on the field of competition and beat him score-wise. So now you put the younger or smaller kid down because he got beat. But you're not praising him for being able to compete against somebody who's better than him.
Right.
I can understand the result of the game that this team was a little better. They had better pitching. They had a kid who can throw 85 mile an hour as a youngster, and this kid over here is throwing 78 or 65 or whatever. Better talent wins ball games. But it shouldn't stop kids from learning because, my son played Major League Baseball, but at the same time, it was a developmental process because he got to be a Major League player later.
Right.
He wasn't necessarily the best kid in Little League.
Right.
Some kids hit a wall. They hit their high school and they're fully grown. They don't get any better.
Right.
Well, here I'm looking at you, skinny as a rail.
Yep.
Little skinny ankles.
Yeah, I was
passionate.
I was always the smallest one on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then so was Dustin Pedroia.
Right.
So was Jose Altuve.
Jose Altuve.
But where are those guys? How many guys did they pass up because they start learning how to play the game?
Right.
And they took that belief in themselves. You couldn't tell Pedroia he's small. He plays like he's 6'4".
Right.
So if you instill that mentality in that kid, say, hey, if you're a unstoppable force, we make you feel like an unstoppable force, and you run into an immovable object. What are you going to do? Well, kids nowadays, if they hit an immovable object, they just stop because they don't believe they're an unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. But if you teach that kid, I'll overcome anything, he's going to find a way to get around, over, under, some kind of way he's going to get past that immovable object.
Now you're teaching character.
Character, thank you. It's all about character. Teach character. Don't teach wins and losses.
Right.
It's way more important to teach a kid that because in the long run, even if he doesn't play baseball, he has learned that character that he could succeed in anything.
Right.
And success is not a destination. It's a journey.
Yeah, and it's what you define it as.
It's how do you define it?
It's not defined by somebody else's saying wins and losses.
And so that tournament you played over in Oak Grove or Mather last week and you won the tournament doesn't define who you are. It's how you played.
Right.
You could have been a real jerk in that game and yelled at umpires and threw balls down and helmets. And the other, you frustrate the other team and all of a sudden we bullied them into a win. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't define you. I mean, that doesn't mean anything,
Right.
you know?
And obviously, that winning versus development discussion with parents plays into the discussion of playing time. Now, if you have a coach that's focused on winning, he's got the same 9 to 12 kids out there all the time, and there's always the same 5 or 6 sitting on the bench. Then those parents are coming to you talking about, my kid's not playing enough.
Right.
So there's a whole balancing act going on between playing time and the different parent aspects and viewpoints. How do you deal with playing time with some of the youth?
The playing time is all relative. If you have 12 players on your ball club, you prepare ahead of time when a kid's going to play, and you don't adjust from it. You don't say, well, this kid is not as good. It's 1-to-1 game. I can't put him in now. You know, you got to put him in because that's what the kid is expecting. And you're actually, another thing that's really important, understanding a kid's skill set is where are you going to put him, or you're trying to put him in a position to succeed.
Yes.
Because ultimately, when you're in a little league level, you're trying to build confidence and self-esteem, not results.
Right.
And when I took a team down to the Fall Classic way back when they first started in Arizona, it become a big deal now. Big deal. All these teams want to go to Arizona for this big showcase tournament. And I took our kids down there, and I said, look, I could care less if we win or lose down here. This is strictly for you to enjoy something different. There's going to be a lot of scouts. There's going to be a lot of recruiters, but you're not playing for them. This is simply a venue that I want you to experience the noise and the crowd and the excitement of baseball.
Take in the experience.
But I'm still not going to give a sign.
Right.
I'm still not going to yell at you and tell you got to do this, because I could care less if we win. I want you to be in front of this exposure. Well, we went undefeated, but we took a lot of heat because we were just having fun. This team from Utah, the coach was yelling and screaming, and they were beating us by a run. And I said, "You guys really want to win this game?" And I said, "Yeah, it don't matter to me." I said, "This guy over here is really loud. He's abrasive." And I said, "Well, we're going to turn our heads sideways and we're going to flap our wrists, and I have really loose wrists, and we're going to get real silly. I just want to make a point." Well, the other team started looking in our dugout, and the other coach started getting upset, and we ended up scoring 7 runs, and we beat them. And I wasn't a big deal to me. And I said, "But see, now what you did was totally unorthodox, but it took that other team out of their comfort zone.
Right.
It made them. It was like what they've learned to be in a regimented, disciplined, hardcore baseball. I could prove to you that if we knock you out of your concentration and you stop focusing on the game, we'll beat you."
Yeah. They didn't know how to respond.
They didn't know how to respond,
Right.
and the balls start flying all over the place.
Right.
And I just wanted to prove something to our guys: you can still have fun and win this ball game.
Right. And
But
it helped your guys relax.
Exactly, but you still got to play it.
Yeah.
You have to play the game. I agree with that. But the other team coach said I made a travesty of the game because we were having fun. And I said, no, you made a travesty of the game because you weren't having fun.
Right.
And the kids weren't having fun. So they were over there crying and upset, and the parents were upset because they lost.
Right.
And I sat there and I told them, I said, I could care less whether we win or not. I just didn't enjoy watching the way you guys had these kids playing.
Yeah. I think they should ask themselves, as a parent, as a coach, and even as a youth player, what is my goal here for my child as a parent? What is my goal here as a coach for these kids? And as a player, what is my goal here, as I'm playing when I'm 12 or 15 years old? What am I looking to get out of this?
Right. They should ask themselves that. It's a very important question.
Ask themselves that. And if the response is, well, for the coach, I want to win this tournament, I'd question that goal.
Exactly. And we go back. That's why the subject is, it's a thin line. It's a thin line between winning and development. And when you start the game, and even myself, I'll sit there and I'm going like, here's the score, here's the situation. And I get a point where I could put a bunt sign on and try to move that runner. But we've worked on things. and I look at my hitter, and a lot of times I'll just point to my head like, okay, here's your situation. What are you going to do? And they decide to hit, fine. And I can't compromise on the fact that once we've got into the field of competition, that child has to learn how to make those decisions. If it works, it's perfect. If it doesn't work, you could easily second guess it.
Right.
And I'm not going to compromise in that. I would never compromise in that because I want the kids to let the game, and I always say, go out and play the game. Don't let the game play you.
Right.
And the only way they're going to conquer it is to challenge it and go play it and deal with the things that are coming up at them. And the failure, I don't like the word failure, but if it doesn't work, I want them to experience that.
Yeah, and I know I had brought up last week that about putting my nephew in a position that challenged him.
Yes.
That knowing that, I always want to put him in a position to succeed, but yet challenges him and knowing he might fail. But there's a difference, you don't always want to put him in an easy position because
right.
he'll never grow.
He'll never grow. And baseball's a tough game. It teaches you life lessons like really no other game. I mean, people say, oh, golf teaches you that. Yeah, it does have components. Basketball, football, every sport. I mean, it teaches you life lessons.
Yeah.
And all we have, we live our life. What we do in the meantime, whether you're playing sports or not, is really irrelevant. It's the things you learn and the content of your life and how you treat other people.
Yeah.
And I think baseball has a lot of that because it's a team sport. You got camaraderie, but it's also an individual sport.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not playing for my team per se. What I do will help the team because the key thing I want to do is be able to inspire my teammates and have them inspire me.
Right.
That's the fun of it. If you start worrying about what the end score is, you're going to get stifled.
Right. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Leon, when we talk about winning versus development. And you obviously played professionally and managed professionally. And maybe I could ask you for a story when you managed professionally in Japan, knowing that the Japanese culture of baseball is sometimes serious and more rigid in certain aspects. And do you recall a time when you had some more fun with your players to kind of help them relax, and it turned out to become a win for the team?
Well, when I found was that we had a pretty good offensive club. We put the guys back in their more normal defensive positions. We made some adjustments, but here's where we had the most fun, Stephen. I'm glad you asked that question because, I'm a hitting guy. I love to hit. I used to go out and take BP with my players.
Right.
We had little line drive games, and they couldn't seem to beat me.
Right.
And my name preceded myself in Japan. I made a pretty good name for myself over there. But I had what he called a manager's bonus. I get 100,000 yen, which is like $1,000 American dollars, to hand out to players at my own discretion. Whether it's a pitcher who really succeeded, whatever.
Okay.
So I had 2 bonuses for every game, which made us better. It was a game within the game, and I love doing that.
Right.
I didn't have a really strong pitching staff, and if you ever read any stories back on that year of my managing, we had just over a 6-point team earned run average.
Pretty high.
But we averaged like 5.7 runs a game.
You had a lot of high-scoring games.
A lot of high-scoring games, but we got voted as the most exciting team to watch because you never knew what was going to happen. And the great home run hitter, Sadahara used to say he loved managing against me because he never knew it. We were doing everything we could. He knew the players were learning a lot from me because we would manufacture runs the best way we could. But I had a thing where whoever got the 10th hit of the game won half the bonus. And if I had any pitcher who just broke a bat, he didn't have to hit anybody. If he just break the bat, that means they got the ball in on the guy.
Yeah.
If it was on an inside pitch, not outside, but inside pitch, if he broke a bat, he get the other half.
Okay.
And if we get 10 hits, and if we didn't break a bat, then I just kept the money.
Okay.
In the kitty to give out the next game, whether we won or lost, or whether we
didn't make any difference. Right.
It was amazing how many 10-hit games we had.
Right.
Having fun going after the guy who's got 8, and then they're counting the lineup they're going, "Oh man, don't get hit! Don't! I'm going to get the 10th hit." You know, we're laughing in the dugout.
So actually, on the 10th hit, they would come back in the middle of the game in the dugout.
And well, once they got the 10th hit, they go, "Yes!" They knew they won. They got the some of the bonus money. They won them $500.
Right.
You know, so it was a fun game within a game. But all it wasn't about the results. It's to keep them relaxed and enjoying the game. And you know, hitters were paying attention to the pitchers and the catchers, because it wasn't like you're sitting there trying to bury a guy inside all the time. You got to pitch professionally. We're a professional team.
Yeah, it was within the situation.
Within the situation.
Yeah.
But in the key time when you need to get the ball in, get it in there. You know, if a pitcher is going to miss, if he's going to go in, if you're going to miss in.
Right.
Because a strong hitter, if you miss on the inner part of the plate, you're going to get hurt.
Right.
And I wanted them to be able to challenge the inside, but also not be afraid to pitch in, which is what the problem we were having.
Right.
So the offense, we had this most of the time in Japanese baseball, you kind of play a little smaller game, which I'm not opposed to. I love to bunt. I love to hit behind runners. Mm-hmm. We were way more effective on it because guys wanted to, you know, and then we would mix it up sometime on a certain RBI or this at bat, or, you know, we had a little thing going. You know, that was the communication I had with my players. But we played that game within the game, and it really works, because if you do that in Little League games or high school games, and you put that little fun factor in there, give players something that they need to challenge and work on, it never fails. It really doesn't.
Wow, make it fun.
Make it fun.
Well, Leon, we touched on quite a few things. I appreciate your input on helping me decipher winning versus development with the youth areas. And, of course, we tied in some good stories about your professional days as well, which always helps.
Well, winning is good. I agree. Winning is good. But winning a baseball game is not everything. It's the development. It's what you learn from it. That's a life lesson.
All right. Well, thanks, Leon. And I'll remind the listeners to send us some questions if they want us to answer them on air at talkingBaseballWithLeonLee@gmail.com. And don't forget the podcast site is talkingbaseballwithleonlee.podbean.com. And also on that site there's Leon's pages over on the left-hand side with various blog posts, and we'll be posting more in the near future. And please feel free to comment on those as well. Until next time, Leon, good talking with you.
Likewise, Steve. A lot of fun.